So that's one of the good things about cameras. It's like it makes a mirror very handy, but I guess I should do that before I get myself on air. Good morning to you, everyone. It is Sunday, December the 21st, 2025, and the winter solstice is once again upon us. So let me get back over here to the Facebook land as we're still using this thing and doing that thing. And let me refresh and see if we can get there. But this morning with our coffee, I want to chat about a couple different things. Of course, the winter solstice. I don't. It's like it's kind of a big deal because it's also our daughter's birthday. So it's like we kind of celebrate that. So it's not like a pagan ritual per se. But there are times where I wonder. But anyway, so there's that, and then also I want to have a little discussion a little bit later on about goalposts. Caitlin and I had a conversation last night, and it kind of sparked a thought when it comes to calendars and days on the calendars and goalposts, and meaning what they mean, or what it'll make more sense in a few. Anyway, I need more coffee as we go. Looking for the stream so I can keep up with the comments, and there we are. So let's pin this bad boy to the top. There it is. And yep, and so Alicia shared a photo of our wonderful, beautiful baby girl who does turn 16 today, and it's amazing to see how well she's grown, and we're extremely proud of her. And yeah, so anyway, but I promised not to gush too much over her because she was not having it because, well, she's 16. But I didn't say it like that. Don't tell her, or you and I are going to have a problem, plural. Uh, but anyway, but again, good morning, Gar. Good morning, Damien, my superstar, rock star, in the comments co-hosts. And y'all definitely liven this joint up and lead by example. Another thing I want to definitely push and promote today, I am still waiting over here for the graphic, but the ebook version available on Amazon Kindle, which you don't necessarily, there's a new thing they're doing too, where you can actually download a PDF of the book. So that's actually kind of cool. A lot of folks who use the platform are all freaking out about that aspect. Me personally, I'm down with it because a lot of reasons. Number one, I want the book. I wrote the book so the book could be read. And don't get me wrong, I'd like it. It would be wonderful if it was a New York Times bestseller and I made $1 bazillion off of it. Sure, I wouldn't knock that, but it's the message getting out that really, really matters. Because again, I wrote a book because the process that you find inside of the book helped me that goes beyond just the toys. That whole moniker there. It's just symbolism that I use to actually show you where symbolism fits into everything that we do. It's kind of fun. No, it's cool, Gar. I appreciate you just doing the shout out. Totally cool. Very much appreciated. Let's see if this graphic is ready yet. And let's see. I'm going to download that one and download that one. And I don't know what they look like yet. So pardon me. I had the robot put together a graphic for me because the robots are pretty handy in this stuff. So let's see here. Let's do this and what is going on here? Let's see how I did. I'll show you in a minute. Oh yeah, that's not bad. Okay, let's see if I can put the photo into the comments. I don't know if it'll let me do that. No. That's okay. I will just put it on my page because I can. So, and what I'll do is I'll double down with it. Well, anyway, again, this is like my Christmas gift to everyone because I'm very serious when I say I do believe the book can do good things for you. I'm not going to comment there. I'm just going to post it, put it there. Here it comes. And then, where is it? There it is. And then I will comment with the link to it. And there we go. And there we go. And then I'm going to do it like this. Watch this, Facebook. I'm going to do a workaround here. So now we just did all that. And as such, well, I guess I could have showed you guys what I was doing on the screen, but you don't really want to see that, do you? I don't think so. Anyway, let's put this in here. So here is a link to the post to where you can get to the link for the book. There you go. So, and anyway, again, it's like, I really, 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 especially this time of year, because if Christmas and toys aren't synonymous in your world in one way or another, rather, it's not about being a collector. It's about truly connecting with the things that light you up. It's art. That's the biggest thing for me. It's always been art. And now in this world of 3D printing, it's like uh, collecting is kind of like totally changed for me, because one of the things that the 3D printing has allowed for me to do mentally and emotionally, spiritually, the whole nine yards, is that it gives me the opportunity to, there's no fear of missing out anymore. There's no scarcity, not really. I mean, I don't have to have that thing you buy off the rack anymore. That's gone for me, because if I really like the imagery of it and everything, guess what? I can just print it. Case in point, Aquaman, right? So that was a 2D image that I had the machine render into a 3D model that I then in turn printed. So it's just fascinating. It really is. It just keeps me rocking and rolling. But again, the link is there in the comments to the Facebook post, to everything else. Oh yeah, Superman always wins, man. Flash, that's just a gimmick trying to get Flash more popular, because I mean, he's an orange, for God's sake, and a weird orange at that. So dun 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 dun. Yep. So anywho, yeah. So we'll talk about all kinds of stuff this morning. The winter solstice, though, that's one of those things that, again, I find it fun because it's my daughter's birthday. Because honestly, until she was born, I didn't think about those solstice things: the summer solstice, the winter solstice, whatever. Because again, it's like, I just not my thing. I never was a thing I was terribly concerned with. Did I just blast that out? I think I just blasted that out. I did. Anyway, but the winter solstice, let me get that back up. Got my notes. I like having my notes. Let's see if this will do that properly. I do believe it will. There we go. Okay, so now let's talk about the winter solstice, shall we? More coffee. More coffee, Jim. Oh, my goodness. Better. Okay, so winter solstice. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it happens on the 21st of December every single year, because that's where they decided to put it. But actually, it's astrologically what it is. It's like the lowest point in the sky for the sun with us, right? So now from this point forward, we get the light starts coming back, and until we get to June, and then the cycle continues. So anyway, so again, we'll start getting more sunlight, and we can do whatever we do with more sunlight, which hopefully is productive. But yeah, so the official statement: the sun reaches its southernmost position in our sky and appears overhead at the Tropic of Capricorn, not to be confused with the cabana at the Copa. So with that said, there we go. Now, here's the thing. One of the things, and I saw a little blurb on it last night, but the thousands of people who will gather at Stonehenge, the big rock circle. And so anyway, to light candles and hold a ceremony. It's not like all woo woo either. It's actually it's kind of a cool idea that with the winter solstice and with everything that it represents, as far as like the lowest light, if you will. Like, I'm not making fun of that. I'm not. But at the same time, I don't want to appear to be like totally woo woo and stuff either, because I like woo woo, but I don't necessarily want to dive all in on woo woo unless there's a form of woo woo that has actually benefited me personally, that I've observed, done, whatever. Anyway, but now here's a practical way. Here's a few suggestions. A practical way to use the solstice, if you will. Pick one thing to release. Okay? Like a habit or a distraction or things of that nature that are just kind of like been hugging. Use this day as that symbolic moment in time, that marker to let it go. Let it go. Sort of like in Frozen, and the winter frozen snow queen. Let it go. And then also, it's a good time to pick one thing to recommit to for 90 days. And this is the other side of woo woo that they don't really point out. But if you like study up on things like The Secret and the power of manifestation and all this, the truth of the matter is that if you do focus and really commit to a thing, you're on the way to manifestation through effort and work, not just sitting here staring at the goat and like going, read its mind. No, you got to put the effort in. I love that video that Anthony Hopkins put out, I don't know how many years ago, but the key is to believe. When you know what you want, believe, 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 believe. And he kept saying that, believe, 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 believe. That's all, folks. Just believe. Believe a lot and not stop. and keep working towards it. And again, it's not a matter of setting a goal, it's a matter of establishing a system. Because again, if you know what the destination is, you can see the journey. A system over goals. And then now here's where it gets a little woo woo, but at the same time, it could help you. Now, if you do this thing at night, like tonight, whether you want to release something or you want to recommit to something for 90 days, do it at night with like a candle or a walk or something to attach a physical thing to the idea, because that really does help. It's as the term is now, it's it's neuroplasticity. The more you put things in play, and when you play with the five senses and you attach them to an emotion, it's like it really does help plant them in, and then the brain starts a rewiring process that, again, the science of today likes to label everything because that's what science does. But the truth is, it's a natural process that we've always done before someone put a name on it. But yeah, but if you can think about it, it's like when you get that one certain smell, takes you back somewhere, or a certain sound, same thing. Certain, all five senses, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, there's a positive, productive way to use the energy and power of the summer solstice for your benefit. But another thing about doing it for 90 days is, as we know now, thanks to science, 28 days later of anything, you have now formed a habit, and that could be good, that could be bad. But 28 days of it, then boom, you're locked into a habit, just like this show is now episode number 52. Wow. Hard to believe that I've been doing this for 52 mornings in a row. And Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, I'll continue to do so for the next 52 or 5,200 or 52,000 if they really work out this whole cure every disease thing. Expectations are low. But they could. Who knows? I don't know. Another thing you'll start to see is starting to kind of change a little bit back here. The bigger change, man, my hair, that one wild ass little twig there, driving me crazy. But anyway, I'm starting to do like a reset on everything, right? Because like actually over here is a whole new setup using all my old stuff. I needed a secondary for some interview stuff that is doing it over here on this setup was not working out well. But now I'll have this because I really had a ball Friday, I guess it was, when I did the tele interview with Micah Ashby, who's running for U.S. Senate in Arkansas, against Jeb Little and Tom Cotton. And I don't know. It's like I need a newsroom now. I wasn't thinking of it, but don't get me wrong. I'm not going like hardcore into the news stuff. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is I want that set up again. And so that's what's going to be happening as we go. But I'm going to make sure I keep my fun stuff. But where all of this here used to be there, and I had the demo cam pointed at it, well, now it's back here, and I want to make it more of a thing. So the demo cam is going to come back in some way, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. But yeah, but this is like my little shrine of the moment. You know, you got Flip the calendar, and of course the incredible Gar tune from the incredibly lovely and talented Gar the Ghoul, and then the 3D stuff that I printed, and Totemo's on hand to once again remember it's a free ebook Christmas season from me to you. So anyway, let's check the comments real quick. Yes, please. Can I reaffirm with a joy? Yeah, absolutely. The joy buzzer is, think about how it makes you smile. And think about how everybody in the audience, when you hit that joy buzzer, they smile. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Woo woo for special occasions. That's the only way to do it, because otherwise you're just a radical, you know? Looking at the world and seeing what all is going on, because I kind of like doing that. And I think I'm going to incorporate this a little bit, because I know everybody's scattered, and I don't really recommend staying too plugged in on stuff because it just don't, because you can get ate up in it. And so, but things to just kind of especially if it's interesting to talk about, like with the Department of Justice and the Epstein files and all of the nonsense that is. Not saying that people who were abused or trafficked or whatever else inside of that very big circle of this is really how people operate. They're sick, twisted, manipulative, power hungry, evil. Use whichever adjective you prefer. But here's the thing. Inside of that part of it, which there's some real there, but that's not the story. That's really and truly not. Mike Benz, I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Benz, but Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z, is one hell of an investigative journalist, and he has connected the dots where it actually matters and the real story. And this is, I'm with him 100%. I'll have to find the YouTube video that I'll share the link, because now his dot connecting that he did, going through all the research that he's already been doing and following for years and years, and he has, I mean, he has. There's a couple things that were released that in like email form, that I think it was email. Anyway, Mike did the groundwork and it's amazing. But anyway, just connecting the dots to where, and these aren't speculative. This is like, this locks things in. Here's why it's a national security issue. The national security issue has nothing to do with the salacious, disgusting part of this whole Epstein drama. That's the dog and pony show. That's the carrot over here saying, hey, look over here. Look over here. Look at this very bad guy who had friends who did very bad things too. Well, there were other bad things going on that is, it's fascinating. But I'm telling you, he locks the whole damn thing down. So it's like there's no reason to talk about it after this. But it actually, Epstein and that full operation, it actually ties back directly to Iran-Contra. I know, right? But it does. It absolutely does. All the things, and if you're not familiar with the Iran-Contra thing back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I don't want to talk about all that because but it was a big damn deal. It was big enough to where, if you recall, when all that got exposed and they started having the hearings and we got to know who Oliver North was, by way of every broadcast network was televising the hearings on that, because it was that big a deal. But it all ties back to that, because it was a matter of moving money, and lots, big money. Well, at that time, now it doesn't seem like such big money anymore, because now, for instance, another thing that's happened in the past 24 hours, that a ruling is somewhere, I guess in the Northeast. Anyway, the ruling happened, and so now Elon Musk gets his pay packet, which puts him at $700 billion, a net worth of $700 billion, which is interesting in the fact that when you get to those numbers and you're throwing those type of numbers out, what does it even mean? You know, it's like one quadrillion billion dollars and 35 cents. It doesn't, it's not real. You know what I'm saying? So when he hits that $1 trillion mark, what difference does it make, right? I look at it like this: as long as I got enough cash in my pocket to buy dog food, cat food, and maybe a Coke, I'm in pretty good shape. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to that wealth aspect, and no debt. You get to the point where you have no debt, you're a free person. But it's funny though, because again, Elon Musk hitting that $700 billion net worth thing, but then also talking about how coming to the future near you is, with artificial intelligence allowing and providing what it is expected to do, that it's, and this is an interesting topic to me, but again, it will afford for like a universal high income for everyone, right? So there won't be a need to work. And this was funny to me. I saw a clip from, I think it was Fox Business, and it was so funny because watching the talking heads on there, and this is not a biased thing when I say it like that, because I say it about all of them, but they could not, for the love of God, they could not brace the concept of a society where people don't have to work. And that made you may go, no, you can't. You have to work. You're Hear me out. Here's the thing. Ask yourself this question. And you've heard the question before, if money were not an issue or a thing, what would you do? See, with those folks, and their perspective is so locked on how everything is or can be or ever will be, they can't comprehend that we humans would not be productive without the financial incentive. Right? We have to work. We have to have the muscle, the crackers on the back, and all that, right? To incentivize us to work. And I strongly disagree, because they were posing the question: what would we do if we didn't have to work? Okay. Here's the thing, kiddies. Now, this is utopian in a lot of ways, and you can be delusional in it. However, have you ever seen the television show and movie series called Star Trek? See, at that point, at that Star Trek level, the seeds that are planted there is like, you never saw anyone going to Captain Kirk or Captain Picard's quarters and saying, dude, there's something wrong with my check, right? They didn't have to, they didn't have to wait in line for months to get into their VA system to take care of all of the, because you got to figure, the Federation, that was a military outfit, right? They could really go boom boom on things if they needed to, but on the whole, no one was sweating the cash flow aspect. If they needed food, they went to the replicator, boom, they got food. They needed healthcare, boom, they went and saw Dr. McCoy or Dr. Crusher, and they got the little scanner thingy, and then whatever they did to make it work and fix you, right? Sometimes though they couldn't, and then you would have things like with Spock, where he got nuked and melted and all that thanks to Khan. But then along comes the search for Spock, and he came back. Hey, that could be a thing too. Who knows? Um, Oh yeah, Damien. Yeah, we could really go deep on the whole Iran Contra thing, but see, there you go. And there was a pay window there on the ship. Yeah. Um, but anyway, the point is that for people who are so locked into believing that the only way anything can and will ever work is by the system that is here right now, that's not necessarily true, because there were systems before we got to this one, and civilizations before we got to this one. Good, bad, and different. Some go up, some come down. Most go up and go down. But things will change because they always have. So, but it was just fascinating to me to see people who could not grasp the concept of people working without that incentive. I know me personally, and this is just true. It's like over the past, 17 years in Harrison, Arkansas, with the majority of that being, in that broadcasting space, and like especially at TKO. And I will definitely speak to them because I was there for 10 years, right? And I'll be honest with you, if I was only motivated by the money, you wouldn't know who the hell I am, because there was none. Jesus, when I walked in the door there, true story, when I first walked in the door there and I introduced myself to Dennis and Bob, and, I was offered a whopping $50 a week to write the news script for Dennis that he slaughtered every single night. Jesus Christ. But anyway, in doing that, that was it. Seriously, $50. Now, in time, that rose a lot. I mean, well, it got up there. Well, full disclosure, when I got to the end of it, no, I'm not going to tell you that. You don't know. But the point is, though, I had to scrape and scrape, and I quit 5 times to get a raise, right? 5 times over 10 years, I had to quit. I only have, Dennis show up at my door. It's funny. It's cartoon-like. But anyway, but that's not the point. The point is, if I was only motivated by that money, and that was the benchmark I had to stick to, well, I've only got this. No, 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 no. It's like that spark inside of me was like, nope, you're going to do it anyway. And I did. And I created a lot of things over the years. Some of it good, some of it crap. I can own both sides of that. I have no issues with it. But I wasn't motivated by the money. I'm still not. And I don't believe I ever will. However, I have learned the trap of that when you don't put any thought into the financial part, because since we're in this system, but I'll put you like this: if they flip the switch, because we're not in control of it, if they flip the switch and then they tell us that, hey, guess what? That money thing you've got, we're not going to do it like that anymore. Here, go look at your bank account now, and blip, they've got money in there. It's a control factor still, won't change that a bit. But at the same time, if it's truly enough to like cover everything to where I don't have to worry about the lights or the water or the mortgage or any of those things, the food, the dog food and cat food and the coffee, then I really won't care. Because again, I have no control over that. I haven't created a monetary system all on my own, and don't really want to. That's a heavy burden, man. Yeah, exactly. Gar, you pointed it out exactly perfectly. Once we went off the gold standard, and then it's all just play money, right? But it actually, even with the gold standard, it's like if you go at that marking point when Nixon said, okay, we're not doing it. Reluctantly, he said that. But if you go back to the Great Depression era and FDR's New Deal, and part of that New Deal was all a part of that, to where it made it at one point, I can't remember if it, forgive me, fact check me, whatever, but there was that one point in time where it was illegal for you to own gold. You had to turn it over to the government. Right? People don't realize that did happen. That was real. That was a thing for that period of time. But anyway, we started transitioning off, and that's like Well, by the 50s, I think it was, is where you had the silver notes, dollars, right? Because it was backed by silver. And then after that, it went to just "In God We Trust." That's called a hope and a prayer. That's really how it worked. So systems change, but again, the people who do what people do. If I just told, if you, I want to make this I want to make it as clear as I can that I'm not delusional, and I'm not necessarily a fan of the idea of that whole universal basic income thing, because that whoever's in charge is the one who's going to make the rules. And when they're the ones who can make the rules, they can change things that we could have initially started out as a good thing, but get twisted and manipulated to the point where it's not such a good thing. And that's always the thing when we're dealing with humans. Because again, we do all have free will. I don't care where you stand in your belief system. Truth of the matter is, you have free will. Now, it does get absolutely manipulated and controlled. No matter who you are, where you are, you don't scream fire in a movie theater without repercussions. You don't drive super fast, blow through red lights without repercussions. Okay? You have the free will to do it, but it doesn't mean you should have, because we all agree that you don't do those things. But I do believe that folks, if they'll open their eyes and their mind to the concept of what would you do if money were no object? What would you do? Me, I would do this. I would continue my plight of doing my best to inform and entertain and encourage people to do better things themselves, and really, really get a hold of those creative things that are inside of you screaming to come out. And that can be misinterpreted to only look at the arts side of things. The expression through art, whether it's music or performance or drawing, painting, hell, 3D design, whatever. That is one side of it. But the other side of it is, let's think back to like the time, like when you got your first job, your first paying job, and you got in there and you were excited and you're like, this is cool, and because you were learning something, even if you were around the circle that was moaning or groaning about this job. But in truth, though, there was something that motivated you to do the best you could and maybe possibly even get better at it. And then you found that, man, I like this part. And it was like the crap part, right? Like if you ever, like any job, that there's always that one thing that you have to do. And it's like, it's lame and you hate it. Like, say you have to scrub the toilets or whatever, right? But at the same time, and it's a matter of perspective, once you get to that point when you can look at that damn duty of having to clean the toilet, but when you think about the benefits of it, um, from just making things more sanitary, and it's better for everyone involved, you do wish that Frank would not be so disgusting whenever he went to the bathroom. But when now you're working collectively, and this is not I'm totally never pro-communism ever. It's another one of those systems that, again, on certain little lines on the paper, it's like, oh, this doesn't seem like a bad idea, until you put the human factor in, and then none of them ever work in a way that I personally want to participate in. But the point is, I do believe that we'll go secular. We as a species would gratefully work together for the benefit of more and better for all, because we ourselves want that. So it's self-serving in our, what's the word I'm looking for? Altruism, is that right? Did I say that right? Anyway, in that effort, we would all want the best for ourselves and in turn for everyone else, because if they don't have the best for themselves, then that's when the whole cycle just gets mucky. So anyway, but the main thing, the reason I bring that up is just because I look at people's perspectives, and again, they were so just, it was impossible for them to comprehend the idea that people would do anything without money as the incentive or someone telling them what to do. People, come on. But that's a lot of things. People really just don't get it. They have to be told. And then sometimes they don't get it, most don't, as far as what they have to do, where it's like, think about it. If you've ever worked in any of the like retail or restaurant or factories, anything where you've worked, someone before you came up with the idea of the thing. And the thing, as they're thinking about the idea, they was like, well, this works, this works, this works. We're going to keep doing this. Oh, that did not work. Make sure we don't do that. And they write all that down, and it turns into, your training manual, your handbook, whatever. And they say, follow this because it works. Now, if you're smart, you follow that to the letter. Why? Well, number one, it worked, obviously, or you wouldn't be standing there. Two, it is a good way to cover your butt because if you're following their steps in that dance, if someone steps on your foot, it's someone who didn't do that, and that even includes the boss man. But if you do, you cover yourself, self-preservation. But in that process and in that incredibly imaginative, creative mind you have, you may come across one of those steps that could be improved upon. And then you improve that step, and the guy who originally wrote the step first goes, "Hey man, why did you violate my step?" And then you explain it, and he goes, "Oh crap, you're right." And so they modify the step, and you get a pat on the back, hopefully a little bit more money, and the beat goes on. But people are, it's funny. And then that's how you yourself grow into maybe you come up with the next XYZ widget company for somebody to then become an employee and get inspired and grow and do. Maybe I'm a little, no, 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 no. I'm not going to say I was being delusional. No, that's really how things work. If you're willing to put in the effort. But a lot of folks don't because they don't believe they can, just like those chuckleheads on Fox Business who could not get past the idea that people will do because they want to. They want to. They just need an incentive that's deeper than money. And what I find is the incentive that's deeper than money is, for me, going back to the broadcast days, like with TKO, I did a lot of things with no expectations of any kind of like payday on it. I wasn't worried about that because it brought me far more satisfaction and joy to see someone else's vision come to life. That meant more to me than any paycheck, period. Because again, if I was just focused on that, then nothing would have gotten done. And that would have sucked because then the people that I did help in that particular moment and they were able to excel, many of them were cool enough. We kept working together, and then the money part did start happening along that line and in that particular thing. Other ones didn't, and that's okay too, because I knew my expectation wasn't for the paycheck. My expectation was for completion of the project and what we were going for. So that was the happy point for me. Yep, and there you go. So again, it's just one of those things that it's like it just blows my mind, which leads into that bigger back end meat of the coffee time talk this morning is, and Caitlin and I had this discussion, and I don't want to go too far into the personal of it right now, but there is a thing that I do want to share with you soon, but I got to have a conversation with a couple other people first before I tell you. Anyway, but we're, if anybody's been following along over the past year and you know us and you know the end of last year and the beginning of this year was rough. If anything, I'll say it was truly one of those times that it had that hell on earth thing because it was one uncontrollable tragedy after another, right? So anyway, when something happens, whatever it is, good, bad, or indifferent, indifferent I guess doesn't matter a whole lot, but good and bad, anything, whatever it is, and there is a point in time where it occurred, then it kind of gets marked forever, right? Then you have an anniversary of said thing. We look at the calendar like birthdays. Birthdays are great because birthdays are locked with a date, and here we are. Holidays, same thing. But they can also become, especially if it's on the negative side or that negative vibe versus the positive vibe of things. Like the positive side of a birthday is what? You were born and you've had an adventure every single day since that moment, right? And every year you can take that moment in time and reflect back on the other moments in time that you've already had on that day and go, yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, that kind of sucked, but I did learn something, and so on 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 to this very moment here. And then you've got the hope of the next year to continue to go forward, but it's a mindset thing, right? But when he goes to the other side of the spectrum on the negative side of things, and when people get, I've never really, this is just me though, I've never cared about the number of circles around the sun, right? It's like this year I turned 52. I made it, right? 52. But I don't begrudge getting older in that number game. I don't. It doesn't, and it's never been a thing for me. It's like, oh, I got older. Okay, cool, but I'm still here. Cool. Keep a rocket. Now, there are certain physical things that would be nice that didn't just do its process, but that's not the point. The point is, when you have those markers on the calendar, that 1 year anniversary, holiday, whatever it is, I think if you look at it from a negative perspective, or it was a bad time, or something that was horrible that happened, and you're coming up on that anniversary of it, if you will, when you here's how I'm framing this for myself and how I framed this for Caitlin last night. Think of those dates, marks, as a goalpost. Okay? So it's a goalpost over here at the end of the field. Now, once from the moment it happens, all right, that's when you're receiving the kickoff. Catch the ball, and now you got to run up the field. And you know the destination is that goalpost. This is where you have to go. All right? So you know that's coming. And you're working your way up the field. And as you're working your way up the field, there's a couple knockdowns, there's a couple, a couple great plays, first down again, all of these things, right? But as you get closer to it, there's emotions that come back because you were playing the game all the way up. But now, as that thing's getting closer in sight, and you're seeing it, and you know that that goal post is not going anywhere. It's locked in. It is the thing. And when it comes to the negative things that are being marked by this goalpost, that is what can very easily lead to the stress and anxiety and fear and all of the negative stuff as you're getting closer to that goalpost. But the truth of the matter is, you're going to hit the goalpost. It's not going to stop coming, and you going towards it because it's marked in time. But it's how you frame the journey to. So while you're playing the game on the field and you're striving for first down after first down after first down in a perfect world, or run all the way in for a touchdown, but most likely that's never going to happen in this game of life. But what will happen, though, is you will continue to move up that field nonstop. So whether it's 1st and 10, 2 and 20, 3 and 50, hey, first down again. And it's back and forth and back and forth. So you're busy and you're distracted during that whole time on the field until you get right there to the end. And the goalpost is right there and you know you're fixing to hit it. And seeing that on your horizon in the wrong frame is what gets it devastating. Or brings you a lot of joy. Because if you're looking forward to your birthday or Christmas or Halloween or New Year's, or you have a thing for the third Tuesday in March, it's like, you're like, third Tuesday in March. Oh my God, yes. But with that in frame, because it's inevitable and it's coming, it can either pull you back into the bad, or you can reframe it into the lesson learned throughout all the other plays on the field throughout the year. I'm not even a football guy, but that analogy really, it worked for me. It flowed out. It was like the muse was speaking, and it rang for Caitlin. And she's not a foosball follower either, but it made sense. Yeah. Yeah, if the printing calendar didn't have holidays marked off yet, you'd miss them. I would too, because they're good to have. I mean, that's societal structure. This is how we still enjoy things. But again, in the past few years now, those things have been politicized and weaponized in so many different ways. Like from Merry Christmas to becoming Happy Holidays to, so what are you doing Thursday? It's like, well, what are you gonna do? That's humans being humans. And because on the whole, we allow those type of changes in the vernacular of things and the lexicon just because we all want to get along. And there you pick your battles, and it's like, well, do you really want to fight about that particular terminology? Okay, knock yourself out. Otherwise, I don't know. Just enjoy what it means. I'm just saying. But the goalposts, it's all how you see them, because they're not going away and you're going to hit it. And then once you're done and you hit the goalpost, it resets again and again and again and again. And then hopefully for a lot of agains. And you make the most of them all the way along the field, making the play after play after play. So there's my philosophical moment on a Sunday morning. Again, December the 21st, the winter solstice. What are you going to let go or recommit to? Or both. Let go of something so you got that energy to recommit to something. I know I need to recommit to pushing the book because I'm very serious. I mean, I want to see 11,000 readers of this book. And For me, I absolutely know it's possible. I believe it 100%. Why? There are 8 billion people on the planet. So they say. I don't know. I didn't do the head count. But allegedly, there are 8 billion people. So to just connect with 11,000 people is not an implausible task. It's not impossible. It takes work, but we're all connected all across the globe. I think I can get 11,000 people to give the book a go. Even if they did it all right now on Amazon from today through Christmas at midnight and did it for free with just the ebook. But if 11,000 people read the book and are kind enough to leave a review, that would be like the biggest payoff of the world for me, to see a review from the readers. That's it. But I know people don't necessarily, they don't take the time for it because they don't think about it unless you push it like I'm doing right now. But to leave the review, whether you got it on Amazon or you bought it at Lovejoy or you bought it at South Louisville Toy and Antique Mall over there in Kentucky, or if you get it at Apple Tree Mall in Branson, Missouri, or if you order it directly from me, which you can do by way of just direct messaging me and those type of things. However you got it, you can still leave the review on Amazon. And if you can take a picture of what you got, like even a screenshot of the ebook to accompany the review just to show that you are a real human being, that would be greatly appreciated because I want to see that. If I can get 11,000 reviews, 11,000 downloads in a world where 8 billion people populate it, that's minuscule. But I know it can happen because, well, I'm just determined enough to talk to everybody I know. If I see you, I'll say, did you read my book yet? No, I haven't. Well, you can do it for free right now. Really? I don't read. Well, you're miserable, aren't you? I'm sorry. Not really, but just read a book. It doesn't have to be mine. That's the thing, too. Our culture being so far removed from, I really believe this. Here's the tinfoil again, right? I firmly believe the education system in America, I don't know about anywhere else because I don't live there, but I know the education system in America, since I experienced it, the process of learning is such a terrible chore the way it's presented to us. And the schools, the public schools that I was involved in, they were okay, but they really were like kind of indoctrinating you for a prison experience. You went in and you followed all the rules and the steps and everything. Got to have some structure, I get it. But it doesn't, there was never a moment of training you or encouraging you to think and ask questions. It was always the exact opposite of things. And that's just terrible. So people don't like learning. A lot of people, I can't tell you how many times I've heard over the years now, decades, when people are like, I hadn't read a book since I graduated. Well, that's probably why you still say graduated as graduated. But, and am I judging you? Yes. You owe it to yourself to continue to learn and read. You do. You owe it to your children, your grandchildren, the society as a whole. Keep learning. Otherwise, why are you complaining? You should be pretty complacent. I mean, you should be as happy as a lark, because if you're not willing to just pick up a book or even watch a movie or a video or whatever to improve you, you owe that to yourself. Again, it doesn't matter what you believe as far as like what life is all about or what happens after this one comes to an end. That's irrelevant to the reality of right now. Wouldn't it be much better if, you go to do something and you realize there's maybe a better way to do it, and you put your, again, you go into, man, I need more money. Reframe that as, how do I get more money? And one of my favorite little things that I heard, Earl Nightingale, if you're not familiar with Earl Nightingale, he was like truly one of the pioneers inside of the self-help industry. But Earl was awesome. Started his career in radio as the voice of Sky King. And man, his pipes are just so rich, old school radio. But one of the things from one of his recordings that's still out there that I love, and I do my best to make sure every time, if I ever say things along the line of making money, I love Earl Nightingale's take. Make money. The only people who make money work at the mint. The rest of us have to earn it. I love that quote. I mean, that just, because again, that's the perspective. I want to make money. You'll go to jail for counterfeiting. But if you want to earn money, you'll figure out a way to do it. And how do you earn money in this world? You figure out how to do something that makes someone else's life easier. And that's either by providing a service that takes the load off them, or you create entertainment that gives them some escapism to where the heavy parts and the heavy lifting are easier to lift. And that's one of the things I love about on your description there on Twitch TV, Gar. I love how you open that up when it comes to. Uh, I'll paraphrase and destroy it, but the main thing is you're just telling people if you're here for not having a good time, then you should, you know. Um, yeah. So anyway, with all of those things said, again, you're not going to make any money, but you can earn a lot because the system does allow for it at this time. Just get a little creative. And it's like, I see people who will spend so much energy and time talking about what they don't have. I'm like, well, why not? Why not? Give me a reason. Well, because this. Okay, well, how can you get past that? And then the conversation stops or somebody gets mad at me. I don't care though, because again, that's how I've reframed my brain to, I know, like Anthony Hopkins said, believe. Believe, 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 believe. And you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Because again, you can go into something where you're like, this is what I want. And then you go do it. And then you find out it's not really what you want. Me, it was newspaper. I wanted newspaper. I grew up from fifth grade on reading Louis Grizzard's column in the Gazette, the Arkansas Gazette, for years and years. And then I started reading his books, and everything about Louis Grizzard is who I wanted to be um, as a feature writer, right? Not doing the hard news stuff, but just a feature writer, commentary type stuff, and doing it in a very humorous way. And I just, like I said, Louis Grizzard, just wow, talk about influence. So I did. I pursued newspaper and found out very quickly I did not want to be in a newspaper. It's like, because again, it was one thing to get to that Louis Grizzard level was going to take a very long time, and I didn't have a whole lot of patience. But also, the money was just unsustainable for life at that time, and again, my perspective on things. So all of that is just kind of the point in all of that is try it, because in all of that newspaper desire, dream, and goal, and I went through, didn't realize I was even going through steps to make all that happen. I stacked up skills that I was able to then apply to a lot of other things in life. Same thing with radio, because once I got accidentally into radio, the radio story, I mean, it was when I was in 11th grade, and at that time we had electives we could take. So like the first half of the day I was doing all the usual indoctrination nonsense because you had to have those credits to graduate, but then the other half of the day we had the option of going to Metropolitan Votech. Well, see, in 10th grade I planned on going, I was really looking at doing like theater, right? Which I'm so glad that never happened. Because what you think you know, and then you find out. But anyway, but they had gotten rid of the drama department at that time, and that's why I leaned into newspaper at that point. But 11th grade, and I got the option to go to Metropolitan Votech, and the only thing that looked appealing to me, that just kind of spoke to me, was radio, because they had the radio broadcasting course taught by the man who taught me everything I know about radio, and became a wonderful friend and mentor for ever, and from now until the time I'm gone. I lost Bob December 16th, 2024. But I got in it, and there was a part of me that liked it. Then there was a part of me that was like, I don't know. Because honestly, the news part of it, when we were learning how to write news for broadcast, I couldn't stand it. I absolutely hated it. But there's the thing about having a mentor and a true teacher. Bob saw something in me that I most certainly did not see in myself. And he encouraged it in the good ways. No, you're going to do this. That kind of Mr. Miyagi push and pull thing. And I'm forever grateful that he did that, because it did. It gave me gave me the boost I needed, and the encouragement I needed, and the true real world lessons to do it, and instilled a lot of things in me at the time that I didn't apply that I should have. If I would have, my career could have went through the roof. But in certain things, I don't believe it was meant to go that direction, or I wouldn't be talking to you today like this. But it's funny looking back. But again, all along those things, you see something, there's the golden ring you want to chase. Well, go start going towards that golden ring. And then you'll find out if that golden ring is indeed the prize in which you are trying to capture. And if you're doing it right, you're learning things along the way that, again, adds to your skill stack. And that skill stack can be applied in so many different ways. Because I can tell you, when I learned about the broadcast clock and where things hit at the mark at different times, and you're really maximizing that hour, where every second literally counts and has to be accounted for. That is like a respect of time that I really like to try to get into people's heads. Not micromanager time, because that's the shadow side of it. To where you, and I've done that, where you can like micromanage the time where it has to be right here on this mark. Because like top of the hour was always locked. Top of the hour, you better hit that legal ID and get into the news. That was like just ingrained in me. You know, the idea that you actually had a 3-minute window on both sides of the top of the hour to drop the legal ID, and you were okay and in compliance, but Bob taught me top of the hour. You hit the mark, top of the hour. And boy, and to this day, I say it's so funny because like in this podcast, because again, when going into it, I was like, well, minimum 30 minutes, no more than 60 minutes. And always working right for the post. Like even starting this thing off in the morning, since I don't have a second hand on this clock, I just accepted the fact that, you know what, by 7:59, hit the button, make sure the stream's going. And that's good enough. It's okay. And it was like freeing. But I guarantee you, 8 o'clock, you should see me going unless I goof up like that one morning where I forgot to hit the button. But that was early on. And I whipped myself terribly over that. But again, it's like you're learning as you go, as long as you continue learning. And the things that you think you want at the time may not be really what you want. But that's okay, because along that way, you're going to learn more things that you do want. Like initially picking up a camera to start getting the motion pictures of things. I wanted to do film, fiction stuff, you know. But then the more I got behind the camera, I realized that I still want to do one. I still want to do a film, a scripted film. But I don't, that's not the thing. I found that my real passion was still storytelling, but not in the fiction sense. I wanted the more documentary sense, which of course left to more news stuff, which is, as you recall, that I told you in the beginning, I hated doing broadcast news. It was the one thing I hated learning how to do. It was just the most oppressive thing in the world to me then. But again, all this stuff along the way, and time management, thanks to my love and appreciation of the format clock, has allowed me to become very efficient in doing a lot of things at once. But then that could turn into like, you know, multitasking, micromanaging. That's not the healthy side of it. But again, you take the skill itself and back away from it and breathe and let it breathe. And it's amazing. Yeah, people are as naggers. We really are. Because again, living is not an easy thing to do. It's just not. It's the way society works, and you have to pay rent to be on the planet. It's stressful. But it's in how you frame it helps. It doesn't change reality, but it helps reshape reality. Because again, if you look at I ain't got to how can I get, this whole construction here, let alone the construction up here that we're not really all in tune with or understand completely, so we make up our own ways of comprehending it, we'll figure things out when you look at it from a certain point of view. Prove me wrong. Because it's well, I can't do that. Well, how have you tried? If you can't answer that question honestly, try. And then you'll be amazed at what you find out. Seriously. And now with the technology that we have and where we are, my God. I remember early on, long before all of this stuff, it's like, you know, going up and down the dial and like having the money to just afford sending out tapes and resumes. I had to pay for tape. I had to pay for resumes. I had to pay for postage. I had to track down radio stations by way of the industry guides and things like that, or phone books. You didn't have the internet to connect you immediately. Like, okay, like say right now, say I was still on the radio career path that I wanted to do, which I don't. But say I was like, okay, you know what? Because my goal when I was a kid, when I first met Bob, and again, he was my mentor, so I really want to follow every step. And one of the highlights of his career was in Baltimore at WCBM. And so I was going to be a goal of mine. I wanted to make it to WCBM. And that's why I've always wanted to work at a station that had a W. Life never took me to the east, though, so I never got to go at WCBM or any W station. But getting in contact with WCBM was a different story back then. You might get somebody on the phone after you found the number, after doing digging and all this. And it was a lot of work to get it. Now I can just go WCBM.com. Ta-da! Easy peasy. And I don't have to go get the tape and the resume and all of that and do these things when I can just simply, I see Alicia's eyeball. I think it's about time for me to wrap up. But anyway, now you can just do it lickety split. Cost is next to nothing. And you're only limited by what you think your limitations are. But I gotta go because it's Kaylin's B-Day and we got B-Day things to do. It's winter solstice. I want you to think about that whole thing of something you want to let go of and then something you want to recommit to for the next 90 days. That's my gift from me to you as we had coffee this morning. But I really do. I got to split. I thank everyone so much. I can't wait to show you some of the cool stuff that we've done for her birthday today. That is really neat and different for anything we've ever done. But I can't let the cat out of the bag right now because she hasn't seen it yet. Shh. Anyway, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, except for you 79-year-olds, I'm watching you. I know how you act. But anyway, with that said, everybody have a great day. See you in the morning, 8 a.m. on Monday, the 22nd. Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. And the coffee, well, I don't want to do it without coffee, but I will, just for you.